That should be good.
And with that lovely weather, we decided to turn this to a little warmer idea and a warmer topic today on the throttle. All brought to you by your local Brian Napa store, who I've been told has plenty of batteries and also
That's right.
fuel, fuel additives for your fuel and scrapers and all that kind of stuff, right, Dwayne?
Yes.
Anything you need to ward off all this nasty cold that you got, your local Napa store can take care of you. If you don't see it there, just ask him. Dwayne will find out whatever you need.
That's right.
He'll buy you a new hat, gloves, whatever you need, man. Anything that.
Now we gotta save that money for race car parts.
There you go. Also, Suburban Auto, AJ Door, Brian Ford Lincoln, Jason Deach Customs Collisions, Trailer Repair, Fast Forward Motorsports, and Keck Lawn Service / snow removal. And Matt Keck's out there smiling from ear to ear.
He is. I see he had a public service announcement that everybody should have their headlights on today because he was getting mad. Well, he was saying some things that we can't say on the radio, like he did one other time.
Like he did when he was on the radio?
Yeah.
One time? Yeah, I know how that guy is.
Something looks like spit or something like that.
Something like that, yeah, exactly. And basically what he said was, and I agree with him, you turn your headlights on today because it's tough to see.
Right.
If you don't, if he runs over you, hey, that's not his fault anymore.
Well, a guy that can probably attest to that is our guest today, Tyler Rankin, which actually drove in over an hour to be in studio today. The roads used some of your sprint car skills to get here today?
Maybe some dry slick skills, but not too much other than that.
There you go.
Well, Tyler, thank you for coming over, man. This is a day when an average guy would have probably just called in. How's that?
Yeah, I felt like it was appropriate to come and be live with you guys, and it kind of treats a little bit more of a face-to-face and better reaction.
Right, and we're trying Facebook Live today too, because our in-studio camera, of course, of all times, took a dump on us, and so our YouTube deal is not working real well right now. So I told Tyler we was going to do something, so we had to do something,
Get
him out there.
I got the audio side running right now, but we don't have the video side other than up on the Throttle Facebook page.
Yes.
Right now. So if you're listening right now and you want to see how good-looking Tyler is compared to the two good-looking guys that normally do this program,
right?
Okay. And the neat thing is he's sitting right next to Dwayne, so there's a great comparison right there.
Well, they'll see that why I have a face for radio and we don't do video a whole lot.
But we are Facebooking live this thing right now, and we do welcome Tyler in on this snowy, nasty day. Guys, I know, basically there's no racing around here.
No.
But there is some racing that went on this past weekend, wasn't there? Huh?
Yeah, and Florida, of course, we got to do it because, the over 60 club like yourself there, Jim. I hate to keep bringing that up, but Danny Smith, which we follow quite regularly on the show, won in Florida Friday night at Hundry, Florida, 360 show. Won his 45th year in a row now. The first race of the season in 45 consecutive years.
You know what?
The only streak longer than that's Sammy Swindell at 48. So
my two heroes.
I know.
There's no doubt about that. For those two guys to be winning at their age, but that gets me out of bed every day and sends me here to do the program. If they can win, races like that, I can at least get up and do a radio program.
Well, and Danny's close to your physical fitness too. Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah, he's not afraid to, but it's cool to see Danny win. And heck, he had a broken left front shock and knocked the front wing down and everything. And if it wasn't for his experience, I don't think he would have won because he kind of moved the wing around and started entering the corner different. And they had some runs on him, but Dave Frankie had some runs on him, and Tony Stewart was right there too. I mean, it was a good battle. I mean, he was a wounded duck, but he was a smart duck. He was wide. Sometimes you got to do that, right, Tyler?
You got to make it a little wide sometimes.
That's right.
You're talking about the way he drove, right? Not
right.
just him, right?
Well, yeah.
He's wide as well.
Well, he might be listening. I don't
know. Well, there you go. Well, he said he was built kind of like me.
Yes.
Yes.
You can fit in his seat in his car pretty easily.
There you go. If I ever have an opportunity to drive a car, it's probably this.
Of course, I can't say much because it gives me hope because then it's like, well, if he can fit, I can too yet. So
your days still are ahead.
Yes, right.
Is what I'm saying right now.
Yeah, maybe talk to Tyler here well enough, maybe we can have team cars or something. He's like,
So Tyler, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. How did you get started in racing?
Well, I got started when I was 4 years old. My grandpa built me a go-kart, and we kind of went racing from there. That's kind of the real start of the whole deal, is really starting with my grandpa and him trying to get me into the racing stuff.
yeah, and your grandpa racer himself. And for our listeners, I know we have a lot of listeners that used to go out to the old Bryan Motor Speedway. Your grandpa, which you still drive it, the 39 Heartbreaker, white and red car. I mean, it's been famous. He had a blue car there for a little bit, but years and years ago. But, you know, that's been pretty standard for the Heartbreaker racing team, you know, with Jerry Hart being your grandpa.
Yeah, it's been kind of the tradition to be the white car, red frame type look, and the couple years that he did have the blue car, a lot of that came from, he purchased that car from Sammy Swindell, and when he purchased the car, it was blue, and he kind of ran with it for a couple of years. And I don't know, there's a lot of people that have kind of said, hey, you guys should do a throwback to it,
right?
But we're definitely trying to stick with the white and the red, trying to keeping it the same
Family tradition.
Yeah.
Well, and
so Grandpa's got some pretty good roots there. If he and Sammy had to know one another, you don't sell a car to a guy you don't know, I don't think, right?
The story I heard was he called up Gambler, and they had that car sitting down there, and basically sold it to my grandpa through Gambler. So it may be a little bit of a face-to-face, but not too much.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, connections is crazy. And one thing we shared here a couple weeks ago is your video. I mean, they made a great video of you, and that's one reason we wanted to get you on too and talk to you, because you, as like your grandpa is, you do this from your heart and soul. Kind of like one thing that really stuck into my mind in your video, and a lot of people don't realize that, and you kind of said that in the video. I mean, for you to race, sometimes it means not taking your girlfriend out, not going, you know, there isn't no vacations. I mean, anywhere like to Florida or anything like that, or it might be bologna and ramen noodles for a week to eat or something, you know, or that to keep the car rolling. And that's true life with a lot of these guys that people don't realize.
Yeah, you know, the vacation thing, that kind of really stuck out, especially in my childhood. Our vacation was every Saturday. You know, that's what, you know, we ended up doing. We didn't go to, you know, Florida, or we didn't go to, you know, Niagara Falls or anything like that. Right. It really meant, you know, Saturdays is your vacation. And that to me, I don't know, I feel like it stands out a lot more, you know, being able to do something consecutively versus, you know, maybe going to Florida for a weekend or a week. And I don't know, I probably wouldn't change it in any way, shape, or form. Well,
and that's one thing, because I grew up doing that. I've been going to the races since I've been 17 months old, and and you know that's a little longer than you have been. A little bit older, not as old as Jim though. But
we won't talk about that.
Yeah, that's right.
He actually drove when he was 3. There was a time when you know, mom and dad needed a dependable driver, and they put him up on a few telephone books and a couple questions. And that was his first driving experience.
Right.
About 3.5.
Yeah.
You know, he's somewhere around.
Could have been
2 months old, somewhere in that.
Well, I did have a little dirt bike when I was 3, so you're close. But no, so I get it. I mean, yeah, there wasn't no family vacations but the connections. That's one thing that I you know, this video I recommend everybody. I see you got over 30 or almost 32,000 views on it already. And it's on Heartbreaker Facebook page. We shared it on the Throttle Facebook page. But it just tells a true story of, you know, a younger racer just trying to make it in today's world, because, I mean, the sport is so expensive anymore. I mean, it gets harder and harder for the little guys, especially, you know, not picking on the Michigan scene, but Michigan still don't pay the highest. I mean, you know, the Michigan pay is about 20 years behind compared to even like an Attica or Fremont weekly.
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, you can't steer away from that.
Right.
That's very, very true. The only thing that with living in Michigan and being based out of Michigan, it's hard to travel.
Right.
there's, you're talking, couple $100 in travel money that you're spending versus, well, where you're going to end up more ahead.
Yep. Sure. Well, in the Michigan, it's a good scene. I mean, there's some good tracks up there, and there's some guys, promoting up there, trying to bring some more money to it. I mean, it's really grown, I think, leaps and bounds in the last 5-6 years up there. So, I mean, I-96 is doing some neat things and some different things. But, yeah, I mean, it's just that's just the way it's always been. And, it makes it rougher and rougher because it still costs the same for a wing, whether you're in Ohio, Michigan, California, Florida, or a right rear tire or an engine or an axle or whatever. And, that's the thing that it's just getting harder and harder.
Back in the day, sponsorship and stuff like that was easy to come by. And in today's age, it's really hard. You mainly have to know somebody, and because they know you, they want to help you out. Because, sponsorship in most cases never really helps out the sponsor himself, with his business. Very little. And when a sponsor comes on board and, gives you money to go racing and do your thing and to be able to have, better equipment, it's nothing other than them being the best person that they could, be at that point. And
just helping somebody out then.
You can't, as a driver, you can't do nothing but say thank you to not only the people that help you out, but the people that help out the racing industry in general.
Well, yeah, and, your grandpa's body shop, Hart's body shop up there in Coldwater, that's always kind of funded his deal. And I thought it was funny in your video they were referring back to that. He said he's 79 keeping it going, and he says you might have to keep it to 100, if you keep racing.
It keeps you young, man.
Right.
Yeah, it gives them something to do at least.
That's right. That's right.
And that's important. They've found more and more that if you've got something going every day in your life, that keeps you going for a longer period of time. And we have something that you really love in your life, like your grandpa obviously loves the racing aspect of this whole thing. That keeps him going and keeps him going strong, no doubt.
Yeah, he has a passion for the sport that not a lot of people have, and this is our 40th or his 40th year racing. Wow. So to have a race team for 40 years, that's in its own accomplishment is hard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So tell us a little bit about the sponsors, because you do have some sponsors, and so let's give them some thumbs up here today for being exactly that, for being the kind of folks that are keeping this team alive for 40 years. For
sure. There's a guy named Ken Flint, owns Flint Trucking out of Litchfield, Michigan, and he has helped us out tremendously. Not only on a little bit of the funding side of it, but he comes and he helps coach and entertains Grandpa most of the time. But
there you go. You need that.
He has been a great supporter ever since I got into the sprint car stuff, and I couldn't do nothing but say thank you to him.
Well, and I know, and I mean, way back when your grandpa's running, your mom was an essential part of his team, and I think she's a pretty essential part of your team too.
Yeah, most definitely. My mom is really, if you watch the video, it really lays it out. But if without her, I mean, it would be hard to go racing every weekend. And she makes it all work. And most moms, you think of it as, okay, yeah, she does the behind the scenes stuff, and she cooks or she cleans the stuff up, does this or does that. And for my mom's case, she does that plus all the stuff that you'd have a crew chief doing. All the work on a race car, washing it on Sundays or anything. She is really a backbone part of the race team. Another sponsor that I'd like to kind of throw out there is Brian Wilson with Wilson Trucking. He has been there through my go-karting stuff and followed me onto the sprint car stuff, and he is really one of the most fantastic guys you'll ever meet. He has a huge heart. I mean, we went down to the Rumble in Fort Wayne, and I ran a mini sprint and a go-kart down there, and we needed to retire and for the mini sprint. And all of a sudden, he's just like, where we got to go? Right now. Where do we got to go?
It's nice to have those type of guys around.
Yeah. He took care of a lot of our tire bill last year. And for one, most people think, oh, a tire bill. It is what it is. But honestly, that's probably one of the biggest expenses we have as a race team, other than like a motor, is our tire bill. Yes.
Especially nowadays. I mean, it just seems with the way the cars are locked down and that tires get ate up pretty easy. I mean, you can junk one in one night depending on the track.
Well, it's kind of funny because you get the SOD series, which has a tire roll,
right?
And they have their own, spec tire, and then you have the All-Star tire roll that pretty much all the under following series follow.
Right.
And you spend probably a good $40 less per tire with SOD than you do the All-Star tires.
Yeah.
And they last. So
that makes it good.
It's a little toss-up between running like the H15 All-Star tire versus the SOD tire. It makes it a lot easier and cheaper on the individual to run with SOD or run with groups like that try to put it a little bit more back into the driver's pocket.
Yeah, for sure.
Tyler Rankin is our guest here on The Throttle. We need to pay some bills, guys. You know how that works. So we were talking sponsors. We have sponsors as well.
We do, a few.
We need to step away and pay some of our bills as well. When we come back, we'll get into last season and look ahead to next season for Tyler Rankin. You're on The Throttle on the Q 96.5 FM.
Northwest Ohio's largest trailer dealer with over 300 trailers.
I think I seen a question on there. Am I going to run SOD this next year? I think that's the plan, at least.
Okay. We'll talk about that then, won't I? So that's what we want.
And
we'll talk about some stuff like that too.
Here we're on The Throttle. We have Tyler Rankin and the one, the only Dwayne Hancock here today as well, guys. Let's talk a little bit about racing last year. Give me a little thumbnail sketch, Tyler. Where'd you race? How'd you do?
Oh, well, most of the year we ran at Butler. It was more because it was only like 15 minutes from the house.
Right.
And it's hard not to go.
Yep.
But a lot of it was just kind of learning. There's a lot that goes on a sprint car, especially the wing sprint car stuff. And to go out and travel and, spend 2 hours in a toter, wasting gas, it's a little hard to do it that way. And
yes.
If you run, a local racetrack for a while, kind of get your bearings and understanding of what a car does, how it does it, when it does it, it makes it a little easier.
How many years now have you been behind the wheel of a sprint car?
I started the second half of 2017 season, and all of last year, and all of this year, at least is the plan. 2017, I ran a little bit of a midget for the first half of the year until we ended up blowing our motor up. We didn't have very much success with doing the midget stuff. It was more of a me-funded deal, and I didn't have a whole lot to put into it, so it didn't last very long. But
you don't have Funderdome money, is what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, you gotta have it.
The midget stuff you definitely have to.
Yes, for sure. Well, yeah, and you're fairly new to the sprint. I mean, you've ran go-karts and the mini sprints and different things, but yeah, you're fairly new to the 410 sprints. But you had some good runs. I mean, I seen you up to Butler have a really good run. Montpelier at the end of the year. I mean, there's some heavy hitters there, and I thought you did pretty good there too.
Yeah, Montpelier, and there was a Montpelier and a Gas City show that we ran with Boss at the end of the year, and both times we went, it was almost like a little all-star show.
Yeah.
It's not...
Well, yeah, Cole Duncan was there, and I mean, there's a bunch of good guys. Lee Jacobs.
Danny Smith was there.
Yeah, there's a bunch of good guys, and I think you almost won your heat race, wasn't it? Your heat race, you got past on the last lap, wasn't it, or something? Or was it? You was running right up front in one of them.
We led our heat race at Montpelier for a little bit.
That's what I thought, but I mean, it was like a lap or two to go before you got past. I mean,
a few laps, yeah. We ended up missing the transfer. We got kind of freight trained quite a bit. That was a racetrack that I hadn't had really too much experience with.
I mean, that's a tricky track to begin with.
Well, yeah. I mean, I ran most of my midget stuff there, but the track had changed so much in a couple of years that I had been away from it. And where I've been running with the wing sprint car stuff, we don't really deal with cushions or stuff like that. So it was a little bit different when it came to running at Montpelier and even Gas City at that. It was a completely different animal.
Now we had a question why we was off air, even though our Facebook Live feed was going on. Somebody was asking about you running SOD in 2019, and it sounds like that's your plan, kind of maybe travel a little bit more through Michigan with the SOD deal.
Yeah, that's the plan, at least the majority or some of it, depending on how much success we have. I mean, that really kind of sets the tone. If we go out and have a really good start at it, then it's easier to keep going with it. But it's all subject to how stuff stays together also.
Oh yeah, funding and all that, and and that's been a good series for years. I mean, heck, your grandpa racing a lot back here when it used to be a 410 series, and I went to a 360, now back to a 410, and you just made one of our listeners happy. Tyler Perry lives just down the street because he's involved with the SOD organization this year with the new ownership. So,
well, that's awesome.
So. I see he was giving you a big thumbs up on there and said he wants to meet you. Can't wait to see you at some of those races. So, got some other plans for the year, but just try to run the SOD deal. And
yeah, I mean, depending on how stuff goes, I mean, the All-Stars and the World Wall come into the Midwest area quite frequently this year, and they come to like I-96 or Plymouth or Lima, stuff like that, which it all depends on what's going on.
Right.
Maybe I'll get Grandpa talked into going.
There you go.
There's some Boss shows also, or it's not Boss anymore. It's a Fast series. But it all depends on how things go, depending on what we end up doing. Most teams, they kind of sit down and set a schedule out, but with kind of an up in the air, a little bit of a budget type atmosphere, we can't really do that in other than like, hey, this is what we're planning on doing. But it all depends on how our stuff stay together.
Right. Sure. Well, and a couple things that I took out of your video too that you talked about earlier is one thing you talked about is drivers being interactive with the fans in the stands. You had a good point there because so many times nowadays, sometimes we see, especially the bigger end teams, what's like the Outlaws, they have them on such a tight schedule. But that's one of the biggest complaints you hear from people going to outlaw races and stuff is, they're already out of the pits and down the road before the races get over. And if you don't buy a pit pass, you can't get in there. But and I've seen you at tracks up in the stands and that's one thing that sticks out if you're a little kid or you're adult, and you never know who you're talking to. That could be the next guy with sponsorship that says, hey, let's Tyler Rankin. He's a pretty cool guy. He came up and talked to me. Let's help him out a little bit.
Yeah, it's something that, when I was a little kid, I always thought it was cool. I mean, I was on the other side of it, with my dad and my grandpa. He doing some of the fan stuff. I mean, I was on the side that I was watching
right.
all the expressions, or they'd have a frisbee night or something like that, where the drivers would stand on the front stretch and throw frisbees up in the stands. I always thought that was really cool, and you don't see that anymore. You don't see the interaction with fans. It's absolutely limited to what people do, and I know that was one thing that I told myself when I got into the sprint car stuff that I was gonna do. That's kind of the point of going to a racetrack, is being able to make fans happy and make them want to come back.
Sure.
Well, and like you said earlier, I mean, the family vacations was Saturday nights at the dirt tracks, but the connections you make, I mean, everybody, even though they're not family, they are family. I mean, it turns into one huge family, and you make lifelong connections.
Oh, yeah. There's so many people that I've come across with the years that I've raced, whether it be go-karts or some of the midget stuff or the sprint cars. I mean, there's so many people that you meet, and friendships, and long-lasting friendships that may, end you up, getting you a sponsor or getting you some help, or if you're broke down on the side of the road and somebody sees you, the little stuff like that.
Or traveling and need a place to stay. I know I use that card a lot. Everybody's like, how do you travel a lot? And that's like, well, this person offers me to stay at their place here or there, or, racing people is not too picky. They'll sleep on a couch or, a cot or, out in the middle of the yard, whatever.
I think that's gonna be a topic one of these days. Who has the most comfy couch?
Oh, there you go.
that you've slept on over the course of the time
there
that
you go.
You've been out traveling and doing your racing thing there, Dwayne. I think that's where we're heading with that down the road.
Right.
The only thing I gotta say is when you go to Columbus, I race some indoor races over there, and be very, very picky of the hotels you go to.
Some things don't go real well in Columbus every now and then.
Nothing happened, thankfully, but it makes you think maybe I should sleep with one eye open.
Yes. I totally relate. I've been to a few of those places. When you're laying in your motel room and you hear gunshots real close, it's probably in the wrong motel region.
Right.
Yeah, you probably are.
Yes. That happens sometimes. Yeah. But so, we know you're driving for Grandpa and that, which, I mean, there's just a history there, like I said, for 40 years, but and run the sod deal. I know you want to stick there, but what's some of your goals? Keep on doing this deal and maybe eventually find a ride with somebody or something, or if one came along, or what would you like to do? I know every racer's kind of got a different deal, and you've came up through the ranks and been in racing forever. So,
for me, I'd love to go run, like the All-Stars or something like that, or, obviously everybody that runs sprint cars would love to go run the World of Outlaws.
Right.
But as much as it costs to go do that stuff, you never really expect somebody to come along and fund your way to get there. And I guess my goal for where I'm at and in a realistic aspect is be able to, race for my grandpa for the next couple of years, 5 to 10, and be something really successful, be able to pull money back in so that we can continue to keep doing stuff, and maybe be able to run at some bigger places like Eldora and actually be able to compete, stuff like that. Well, to me, I get more of a satisfaction of being on the race for my grandpa, just because it's a family thing, and not saying that if anything ever came along that I wouldn't try doing a balance of something, but anything that I ever would do, I would definitely want him to be a part of it in some shape, form, or way.
See, I told you this guy races with his heart and his emotions, because and that's what's neat about racers like yourself. I mean, there's a big tradition there, and like I said, I mean, it's neat, and man, I could just see Grandpa and Victor Lane when you win an A main. I mean,
we came close once last year. It was at a Butler show, and we led for about 3/4 of the race, and we had some stuff that started getting bound up in the race car and started making it act a little goofy, and I made some mistakes and ended up resulting in a really bad night. So
I think that was the night I was there. It was, because you led for a long time, and then it looked like some things were sparking, and things kind of turned bad. And it will, but like I say, if you're you're not going fast, if you're going to tear one up every once in a while.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Tyler Rankin is our guest. We need to step away one more time. When we come back, I want to wrap some things up, and I want to let people know where they can go and watch that video.
Yes.
Because that's one thing. We've talked video a couple different times, but we really have not let people that are listening right now know where they can go and find that video if they haven't seen it yet. You're on the Throttle on the Q on 96.5 FM.
Yeah, I would do that too. I want to ask you about building your own seats too. I think that's cool. I mean,
and on a nasty day like today, some people may be calling AJ Door to help them out and get things going, because we do have some sponsors today. And Jason Dietz, if you slide off the road and you need to get that all straightened out, Jason will take care of you that way.
Or if you hit something in the middle of the road coming back from a race at 4 o'clock in the middle of the night during racing season, he'll hook you up too.
He'll take care
trust
of
me.
that too. Trust him.
Yeah, trust me.
Garage door open, obviously AJ Door will take care of that. In our local Napa store, man, you can't go wrong with whatever you need.
That's right.
Local Napa store here in Bryan. And also Mr. Matt Keck, who's out roaming the streets right now, pushing snow. Although it's still coming down, so I'd hope that he's, he's only doing the one that he needs to do, and he's not out at your place and my place for the 14th time today.
Well, I think he did mine yesterday with my broken foot. Now I'm gonna need somebody for a while, because I tried shoveling a little bit yesterday with that, and that didn't work, and I wasn't even gonna attempt a snow blower. And next thing I know, my driveway is plowed, so it must have been Matt Keck.
He's one in a million, man. There's no doubt about that. So before we get back in with Tyler Rankin, a quick update on the foot. How in the world did you break the foot?
Well, I'm gonna give probably like a Tyler Rankin answer. Okay. If he crashed or something and he didn't know, I have no clue. It hurt. It hurt for three. It hurt for this is my speed of going to the doctor. It hurt for about 3.5 weeks, and it was getting worse and worse and worse. And then I found out I guess it wasn't gonna self heal.
Yeah.
like I usually do. And I finally went to the doctor Tuesday, and they're supposed to do four to five X-rays, he said. And then after the second one, the X-ray lady, she's like, "Oh," she goes, "we're good." And so I go in there, and I mean, I'm just a dumb parts guy at Napa, and
Sure.
I could tell it was broke from the X-ray. So, so somehow I broke it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that's what he goes. "You don't know how you did?" I said, "Oh, there's at least 3 or 4 times in the last month." I'm like, "Man, I feel like I broke my foot," and well, evidently I was right that one of the times.
Yeah.
One of those times it really did happen. Yeah.
But I could see Tyler doing that. If you ever get in a crash, you got something sore, you just keep going, right?
It's funny you talk about that because it was at the beginning of December. My girlfriend, she ended up twisting her knee and dislocating it. Well, the best way to go in public and make it look like you didn't do something stupid or
Right.
anything like that. Always trying to look at people and go, "It's because I mouthed off."
Yeah, that's right.
We went down to PRI and it was pretty continuously. Anybody that asked, it was, "Oh, I mouthed off." Well, there were some of them people that were pretty serious about
Right.
thinking that was actually what happened. So maybe you could play that.
There you go. That's right. Well, it looks like we got a question for you from Nate Colson, which he's the owner of Kelsey Ivy's sprint car. The whole team there. Have you seen or heard any improvements that they intend to do to Butler this year?
I've heard, I guess through the grapevine, well, kind of through the grapevine, that they were supposed to get a lot of clay and put on it and try to get transponders and stuff like that for next year. So as far as I know, it should be a lot better. We at least plan to go probably 4 to 6, maybe 8 times. There's 4 sod shows at least that we're planning on going to, and there's a couple memorial shows that we definitely want to hit up there. And if there isn't anything else going on, definitely will be at Butler because it's only 15 minutes from the house.
Well,
Sure.
the track, when I went up there last year, I mean, I thought it was in the best shape I've seen it in probably 5-6 years. A couple of nights that I went up there last year. I mean, I know some nights it's good, some nights it's not. Everybody knows that, but it seemed to be pretty decent the time I was up there.
Well, it was not too bad actually this last year. There were some ruts and stuff like that, but for the most part, it wasn't horrible. There was a rock problem, and that's a lot of everybody's concern, especially like in the Ohio area. There's certain people that have ventured up and stuff like that, but the rock problem is kind of the talk of it. And if they get that figured out, it has to be one of the more racier, faster racetracks in the Midwest.
Yeah, I mean, I try to get up there because it's actually the closest weekly sprint car track to us right here. The races dirt sprint cars on a weekly basis. So I try to get up there, and I know some people that's raced up there for years. So, but yeah, I thought it was in pretty decent shape last year. Like I said, the rocks, I mean, it don't feel good getting hit by a rock coming off a sprint car tire at 100 miles per hour.
I kind of had to go with my grandpa a little bit on some of his opinion. He when he raced, he used this shopping cart base. He cut a base out of a shopping cart. You have your 1-inch rock screen or 1-inch holes between the squares, and that works out tremendously, especially for a rocky racetrack.
Right.
Most people look at it and go, "How do you look through that?" It's a lot better than getting hit with rocks.
That's right. That's better than looking at a rock in the eye at 100 miles per hour.
That does tend to blur your vision just a little bit if you get hit
That's right.
a good-sized rock at 100 miles an hour.
Now, one thing that I heard this famous video we're talking about is you make your own seats, which it was funny because I thought it was a cool deal, but like you said in the video, some people kind of cringe, but it's you in that seat, and you know what you like, and there's so many custom seat deals anymore. I mean, to me, seat is one of the most important safety factors in a sprint car. Because the wrong seat can break your back, break your neck, hurt you pretty bad. And so how'd you come about doing this?
Well, actually, I think it was like 2016. I came up with an idea with a left side removable headrest so you can get in and out of the race car. I ended up putting quite a bit of money into doing that and had a booth down at PRI, and we sold probably roughly around 50 seats. And honestly, there was maybe one or two in the Midwest. Everything that we sold was across the United States. And the way I looked at it, there's about 5 different things that you run into with a seat. 1, you want to be comfortable.
Yep.
2, you want to be safe. 3, you got to be able to see.
Yep.
Most people don't think, see. What do you mean you look forward? Well, you look to the side too,
Right.
or you got peripheral vision. Then accessibility.
Yep.
And being able to get out of the race car. Race cars are getting tighter and tighter and tighter. With this new rule that they came out with the safety bar.
Right.
No, it's not a complete hassle, but it creates a smaller window. There might be a couple different ways they could have went about that other than what they did, but it is what it is. Everybody's trying to follow it.
Yep.
And then probably the last thing would be the comfortability of your back.
Right.
Sure.
There's a lot of seats out there that create separation in the base and stuff like that. That when you're out there racing, it kind of distracts your train of thought.
Right. Well, and there's not a lot of padding in these seats, as most of our listeners they need to take a look at one of these seats, because there's just a real little thin pad, and then you're bouncing around on one of these racetracks. You hit a rut or something, or jump a tire or whatever,
Yeah.
and you're bouncing up and down, going 120, 100, or so, and sometimes you don't even have to flip to hurt your back if you have the wrong seat.
Well, the one thing that you look at and you wouldn't think, like the visibility.
Mm-hmm.
So ruts or rough racetracks, or even just the race car,
Right.
It has vibrations to it, and there's padding out there that you can incorporate into a seat where if you rest your head against the headrest, or if it touches it or it bangs against it, that it can deaden a lot of the driver feel of it. And that's something that I really introduced into my seats. And I made sure that, if you ever wanted to lay your head against it, you could, and you never think twice about it. You could see same as what you would holding your head up away from it. Yeah. And there's lots of seats out there you can't even barely touch your head to it, or it'll vibrate your eyes out.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Tyler, as we wrap things up right now, if somebody would like to see the video that we had talked about, where can they find that?
Well, there's 2 different places. The original place that I posted it was on my personal Facebook, which my name is Tyler Rankin, and then there's also Tyler Rankin Heartbreaker Motorsports, and that's going to be kind of your place if you want to follow us or look at stuff that we have posted or anything like that. That's going to be kind of the go-to spot for 2019 and further.
And it's
So.
TYLAR.
Yeah, yeah, it's AR.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. That's I like things being different. And,
Yeah.
So some of our fans that are searching, make sure you spell Tyler the way Tyler Rankin does.
TYLARRANKIN.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
So Tyler Rankin, thank you for being part of this today. Best of luck this next year, man. When you win that first one next year, you need to make sure that you come back over and spend a little more time with us. How's that?
That's
huh?
right.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Shout out to your grandfather
And I
for
know
all the
there's-
things that he's done, and
Right.
It's really good to have the guys like Tyler Dwayne on the show.
It is, and I think there's maybe a few other people you wanted to thank before you got off the air here.
Yep, there's one more sponsor that I'd like to thank, and that would be Cornfed Construction, and they've helped us out starting last year, and they're helping us out this year also. And
Cool.
he's a wonderful guy, and he's actually going to help put some walls up in our basement, so that's
go.
kind of cool.
There you go.
And then as far as personnel, last year that kind of helped out, and I really couldn't have done it without him, was Mark Zimmerman and Alex Venevi, and then my mom. And I everybody probably wouldn't be able to see the Facebook page and stuff like that if it wasn't for my girlfriend. She bared down and went through all the disgusting pictures that I had posted because I didn't know how to post it in the right way. So they were all a jumbled mess and out of order. So she got that all straightened out, and she's going to take care of a lot of that. And my grandpa, I really want to thank him, and also my sister. I mean, she's one that kind of puts through up with a lot of my stuff.
Right.
But it's honestly the whole racing community I'd like to thank.
No doubt. Well, that is wonderful, and it was great having you today. That'll wrap it up for us today on the throttle. Tyler, best of luck with your racing in 2019
That's
and
right.
beyond.
See, he's a smart racer. You got the important things in there: mom, the girlfriend, sister.
Exactly.
He's
You gotta.
he's not only fast, he's smart.
If you can't be fast, be smart.
That's right.
That's exactly that way.
Oh.
On the Throttle, brought to you every week by your local Brian Napa store, Suburban Auto, AJ Door, Brian Ford Lincoln, Jason Deach Customs Collision, Trailer Repair, Fast Forward Motorsports, and Keck Lawn Service and Snow Removal. And Mr. Matt Keck is out getting it done today. Dwayne, that'll wrap it for us today. We'll talk to you next week, buddy.
Yep.
12:52 on the Q, 96.5 FM.
Oops.